There comes a moment in everyone's life when the world feels overwhelming. The weight of challenges makes you question your strength. But what if I told you, even in these darkest moments, there's something greater guiding you? Trusting in Allah. This is not just a belief, it's a lifestyle. It's called Tawakkul, and it's the foundation of a peaceful heart, especially when facing difficult times. The first step is understanding that difficulties are part of life's test. Allah tells us in the Quran, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient." Quran 2:155. This life is a temporary place, and every hardship we face is an opportunity to grow spiritually, to become closer to Allah. Accepting that hardships are part of the journey helps ease the weight of the burden. Here is the story. The wind howled through the narrow alleyways as Ahmed hurried home. His mind was a whirlwind of stress, reflecting the stormy weather outside. Everything seemed to be going wrong. His business had slowed down, bills were piling up, and his family was relying on him more than ever. His heart felt heavy, like it carried the weight of the world. As he stepped into his modest apartment, the quiet inside was a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in his head. His wife Fatima was in the kitchen, gently humming as she prepared dinner. Their two kids played quietly in the living room, unaware of the tension that was slowly building within their father. Ahmed slumped into a chair, rubbing his temples. Fatima noticed and walked over, her face soft with concern.
Long day?
Ahmed sighed deeply, not sure how to explain what he was feeling.
More like a long month. It feels like nothing is going right. I don't know what to do anymore.
Fatima sat down beside him, her voice calm yet firm.
I know things are hard right now, but have you forgotten? Allah has never left us alone, not even once.
Ahmed looked at her, feeling the familiar sense of doubt rising again.
But what if things don't get better? What if I fail? What if...
Fatima cut him off gently.
Ahmed, you're doing everything you can. That's all Allah asks of us. The rest is in His hands.
The next day, Ahmed found himself back in his shop, staring at the accounts that weren't adding up. It felt like he was sinking in quicksand. The harder he tried, the deeper he sank. In a moment of frustration, he grabbed his jacket and stepped outside for some air. The streets were empty, save for an old man sitting quietly on a bench near a small park. Something about the man's calm demeanor drew Ahmed toward him. He didn't know why, but he felt compelled to sit down beside him. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The silence was almost comforting. Then, without turning his head, the old man said softly,
"Trust. That's what you're struggling with, isn't it?"
Ahmed blinked, surprised. How could this stranger know?
How did you...
The old man smiled knowingly.
You're not the first to carry that burden on your shoulders. Many have walked that path. But let me tell you something. Life is like sailing a ship through the ocean.
Ahmed frowned slightly, unsure where this was going.
Sometimes, the waves get rough. The storm feels like it's going to tear your ship apart. You grip the wheel tighter, thinking you have to control everything, or else you'll sink.
The old man paused, his eyes twinkling as if he held a secret.
But here's the truth. Your job is to steer the ship, not to control the storm. The storm belongs to Allah.
Ahmed felt a shift inside him, as if a weight had been lifted. He realized the old man was right. He had been so consumed with fear and control that he had forgotten something vital. Tawakkul, trusting in Allah. The old man stood up, his knees creaking as he did.
Do your best. Tie your ship to the dock. But when the storm comes, trust that Allah is the one who guides the winds.
Ahmed watched as the old man slowly walked away, his figure disappearing down the street. Those words echoed in his mind, calming the storm within him. Later that night, as he sat in his living room with his family, Ahmed felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in weeks. His children laughed, their voices filling the house with warmth. Fatima looked over at him and smiled.
How are you feeling now?
Ahmed smiled back, more sure of himself this time.
Better. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know now that I don't have to know. I just have to trust.
Fatima nodded knowingly.
Exactly. We do our part and we leave the rest to Allah.
Weeks passed, and while Ahmed's situation didn't change overnight, he found that his outlook had. His business picked up slowly, but steadily. When challenges came, he faced them with patience and effort, knowing that ultimately, the outcome wasn't in his control. He was steering the ship, but the storm was in Allah's hands. One evening, as Ahmed was locking up his shop, he looked up at the sky. The stars shone brightly, clear and undisturbed. For the first time in a long time, he felt light, like the weight he'd been carrying had finally been lifted. He whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude, not just for the good that had come his way, but for the lessons he had learned in the process. Indeed, whoever puts their trust in Allah, He will be enough for them. Ahmed smiled, knowing now that no matter what storms life brought, he was never truly alone.